I don't know. Like, I don't know that you could say that there's something inherently threatening about it because that man is on death's door, and someone should do something. He looks terrible.
It's all Pete Davidson and the ginger from this new Star Wars movie.
Yeah, like those aren't particularly threatening representations of masculinity.
That if we're celebrating big dicks, we should celebrate small dicks, and we shouldn't like make big dicks feel.
No,
so
we got the
special.
Stavros in the house.
I believe in the synthesis, Harveyism. Think like a lady, act like a man.
Yeah. Okay.
I was wondering where you're going with that, Felix.
Yeah.
And I just started sweating. I just started cold.
Oh, we're not
sweating.
live. It's fine, dude.
Let's just, synthesis. Just average dick, good feelings, good times for everyone.
Yeah, that's the Hegelian way to go.
Yeah, no, exactly. Let's go back to average penis length, 3 inches.
The artistic ideal.
Just like, slightly too big, but it's okay.
Back to Bruni.
Back to this morsel.
the dick digression.
Bloomberg is as insistent on order as Trump is on disorder.
Whoa,
as steady as Trump is spastic. Should not have used the word spastic there. That's problematic.
He's canceled.
Yeah, canceled. Frank Bruni's canceled. Trump won't give us a moment's peace. Bloomberg could lull us to sleep. Politically speaking, we need the REMs.
Yeah, like
what are you talking about?
Like ether. Lots of things lull you to sleep that are not good.
People across America are like, I love my boring, organized Jewish president. Like, that's exactly what they want.
Crying over the coffin. I love my manly Jewish president's son.
Look, I just want a president who will wheel me into a room and show me nice pastoral images while pumping fentanyl into my veins.
Yeah.
And then grinding me up into fucking bone meal.
Soothe me.
Also, both Trump and Bloomberg don't have like real party affiliations. Like they're just rich guys from New York. So is that what Bruni's saying we need? Like that's a good thing that we should just have another completely amorphous person who doesn't believe anything.
He's
but
saying
just
that, but I think he's picking up on it, but not smart enough to figure out that's the similarity he's recognizing.
Mm-hmm.
Bloomberg is as prepared as Trump was unready. The presidency for him wouldn't be a first whirl at governance. Some gee whiz, why not, how hard can this be lark. He spent 12 years from 2002 through 2013 as New York's mayor, in charge of a complicated city of more than 8 million people. Trump operates by gut. Bloomberg demands data and more data.
Data, yes!
facts.
Really, he didn't really seem to care too much about data when it came to stop and frisk.
Nope.
or when he sent like helicopters to break up Occupy, like with cops in like Star Wars.
Do you remember what Mayor Bloomberg said during Occupy, like when people were in Zuccotti Park? He said, I don't know why they're protesting bankers. He's like, bankers, they give you checks. They make $40,000 a year. He was literally said that they were protesting bank tellers.
Well, I was.
Yeah, I hate going to the bank, dude.
They're fucking. I don't like the way they
bullshit,
look at me,
man. Why can't I take the pen?
But you're
You
chaining
don't
it
trust
down.
me enough
You
to
don't
not
trust-
chain that shit to the fucking table? Fuck you.
That'd be awesome going to Occupy Wall Street, but just because like your local bank didn't let you charge your phone in the lobby. Oh, what the fuck, dude? I've been thinking about being a customer, but honestly, fuck you.
They said a free calendar for every account open, and that shit was fucking mini. That was a mini calendar for a fridge. That's a fucking falsehood.
Trump doesn't really have his hand on the wheel. He just wants to be the shiny hood ornament. Bloomberg is all pinpoint GPS navigation.
Oh my God.
This is the second.
Bloomberg is Garmin.
You've read us just 2 of these like unflavored bowls of grits in like the past month, and he's used the hood ornament analogy in both of them. He loves them. He loves a car analogy.
He didn't always steer New York in the right direction, but there was never any question that he'd keep us out of the ditch.
Cool.
There's a lot of New Yorkers in ditches right now.
Is this
like
supposed to be
literally
an
and figuratively.
endorsement of Bloomberg?
Yeah.
Well, no, it's the implicit assumption here, and this is something that Felix talked about, is how many people who just want things to be normal again. They don't care if things get better. That because they're doing fine. They fucking subscribe to the New York Times. they just don't want to be bothered by the news anymore. They don't want to worry that the president's unstable, so they just want the
And it means something to them
elfin
what Nancy
technocrat.
Pelosi says about someone.
Yeah.
It's like they want this elfin technocrat to just steer us into the fucking iceberg that is rapidly melting, and we'll all die anyway. But at least we won't hear about it until it happens.
Trump is playing midwife to ever more extreme, debilitating partisanship.
This sense of metaphor is so boring yet gross.
What rough
Trump just breastfeeding a newborn. Oh, we love it.
Of partisanship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a screaming black demon baby of partisanship. Just fucking Damien sucking on
The
Trump's
afterbirth of voter unrest.
tits. Yeah. Trump is eating the placenta of polarization. Very cool, Frank.
What rough partisanship this
Also,
hour come
I'm
at
as
last
offended.
slouches towards Bethlehem to be born.
I'm just as offended as by calling Trump a midwife as by Trump always saying witch hunt, because it's like where he sees himself as a witch, which is like completely offensive for him to identify as a witch. Yeah, please.
Magic
We love it.
is not for Trump.
Thank you.
Me and my girls
Bushwick
drinking wine.
Wiccans are gonna like
I'm like,
come with
when's the
torches.
last time you read tarot cards? Trump?
Me and my wonderful friends are drinking wine and watching The Craft. Oh, we love it.
I could have had Fairuza Balk in 1992.
Okay, they're going out there right now, but I'm light as a feather, stiff as a
Trump was
board.
like, these are wonderful crystals.
Follow my peach if you think you know me well, okay?
Folks, the bones, I found them at the graveyard. They're amazing.
The future is
I'm
female.
conjuring so many spirits.
All right, everybody, I'm doing a thread about toxicity in the Tumblr witch community. Okay. Look,
It's a special
Very
Tumblr.
bad.
It's a very special Tumblr.
How could it's hard to envision Bloomberg doing the same, meaning creating extreme, debilitating partisanship. How could he demonize Republicans, independents, or Democrats when he has been a Republican, an independent, and a Democrat?
So has
And
Trump.
so is yes.
Both parties
was a
love it when you do that.
Also, Republicans should be demonized. They're literal demons.
Seriously, does like what? That I mean, does Frank Bruni not know that?
Probably not.
Like parties love it when they do that too. They really think someone's a really reliable
Also,
investment
Trump
when they
isn't-
bounce around from party to party.
Trump isn't like midwifing partisanship. He's like
No.
He's letting out like white nationalism. Like it's not, it's not like this is this bizarre thing where these people just like continue to fetishize some notion of like agreement. Where, there's this like wonderful middle where we can all be with Bloomberg and Pelosi and
Yeah,
everyone
but even
together.
the people too, in the sort of general right aren't big fans of him. Like he's such a failure on any level to meet any of the
Bloomberg
standards.
has no fans.
Yeah, no, exactly. He has no fans. He has no fans.
And while that may make him appear as ideologically rudderless as Trump, he's not. Many of his core positions and principles, pro-immigration, pro-choice, in favor of free trade, in support of clean air, have been intact for a long while. I love that that's one of Bloomberg's like well-known policy positions. I
guy
love
loves-
clean
he
air.
loves
I
clean air.
breathe it all the time.
I breathe it in my hyperbaric chamber under my dungeon every day.
Bloomberg doing the Trump stakes promo, but for air. I breathe air all the time. It's one of my favorite gases.
He's also just basically talking about the smoking ban. That's his contribution to clean air. It's ruining everyone's fun.
He's pro-transparency too. When he was in government, he routinely released his tax returns. Though
Gives a shit about the fucking tax return.
Again, this is nerd shit.
Oh
this is
my
what nerds think
God.
people care about.
I'm glad that the man who hoards $50 billion didn't obtain any of it illegally. That makes me feel good.
It's also just so weirdly like it's like clean air. It sounds like a Don DeLillo like satire of like a platform that someone would have. It's like my new terminal and my clean air and my like efficient release of tax returns. Like that's gonna make people really passionate about you.
That's what New York Times people are passionate about,
Right.
and
Right.
they have never met anyone else.
Right.
Though his station was well below the presidency and there weren't rampant suspicions about untoward influences on him and sinister conflicts of interest. He has had complaints about journalists, but he has never sought to delegitimize journalism itself. He never would. He owns a media company.
Cool.
That he thinks that's good. He thinks that's good. He's like, yeah, of course. Why would he try and delegitimize it? He owns them.
He owns a media company that literally employs Eli Lake and Megan McArdle.
It's like, it's so telling too. Like, I know that it's like tough to be a journalist, but not this type of
Yeah.
like, it's very telling when like op-ed writers are like, yeah, Trump's so bad he demonizes immigrants, black people, and journalists, and it's like, oh, it's very sneaky to get that one in there. I almost
Yeah.
didn't notice.
They all think they're Kim Wall.
Yeah, no, they're acting
And they
like
might
they're
end up
journalists
dying in a
Turkey or
submarine, but that's
or the
kind of it.
Philippines. It's amazing. They act like a shitty op-ed journalist who, like, maybe once, like, in 2009, Trump was like, he was very unfair to me. Like, is like, we're being attacked. This is literally like living under Duterte. Like, Jesus Christ.
So, like, soon I won't be able to publish my food reviews.
Yeah,
My
that's pretty
restaurant.
much, yeah.
He built that company from scratch without noteworthy melodrama. Trump got into
Oh
real
my
estate.
God, so boring.
Trump got into real estate courtesy of his father, who gave and lent him large amounts of money. And as he sought to grow that fortune, he sprouted lawsuits and bankruptcies like weeds.
Wait, so it's like, okay, so now that Frank Bruni has slipped this in like 3/4 of the way down in his column, it's finally going to take hold. Like, someone's going to read it and be like, wait a minute, you're right. Trump didn't start his company and he wasn't a self-made man.
Bloomberg is fanatical about recruiting top-notch talent and empowering it. Trump picks a mix of standouts and stooges and disempowers them, if they're lucky.
He gave Tito Ortiz a lot of chances on The Apprentice, actually.
If they're not, he disembowels them. Ask Jeff Sessions, who probably considers Mel Gibson's end in Braveheart preferable to his endless mortification.
Prayers up for Jeff Sessions.
Oh, yeah. No,
Being
seriously.
mistreated.
If Jeff Sessions did end up like William Wallace, I would pay to watch that on Bloomberg TV.
Like, his example of someone being unfairly treated poorly is Jeff Sessions. Amazing,
is
dude.
the neo-Confederate
fucking
golem.
amazing. This fucking League of the South little goblin elf. Oh my God, this dark elf from World of Warcraft. Oh God.
Bloomberg's top aides say that with him, loyalty is a two-way street. With Trump, it only goes in one direction.
Oh, like a one-way street.
That's what you're thinking of, buddy. The one
He's
right
literally just saying, like, he's like, Trump is a sociopath. Like, Bloomberg has some regular human qualities. Like, so do a lot of other people. Like, he's just, you know, it's like he's comparing, he's saying Trump is only loyal in one way. Like, yes, because Trump is a freak who's different from, like, all other people. That doesn't mean Michael Bloomberg is the answer. Doesn't mean that this guy who happens to have, like, the normal way of relating to people in an organization, like, is the right answer.
Yeah, that's not a rare quality.
Right, exactly. It's like almost everyone else has that quality.
Bloomberg's mayoral administration was light on ethical scandals. Trump's
Light.
presidential
Best we can
administration,
do.
why even waste the keystrokes? Good question,
Well,
Frank.
you already wasted so many telling us, like,
He's
Yeah.
like,
Why stop now, Frank?
he's like, oh man, I already put so much energy into this one analogy about how Michael Bloomberg is like the produce section and Donald Trump is the frozen food section.
He's
I
like-
can't even expend any more
like-
energy. I'm fucking beat,
he's
dude.
like, Bloomberg's children are polite and nice. Trump's children, well, need I tell you that there are 3 of them, and
Oh my
maybe
God,
4.
yes. I hate the little.
His margins are really wide. Frank Bruni widens his margins.
I love Frank Bruni's like when he gets like his wry devil may care style of prose. Very cool, Frank.
He's like Bloomberg never raped any of his ex-wives. Trump, on the other hand, has been accused of it.
oh my
Trump
God.
is a Potemkin philanthropist. So
What?
much so that a Washington Post reporter, David Farrington-Hold, won a Pulitzer Prize for exposing all the fakery in the Trump Foundation. And the
And
attorney...
it stopped him from being president.
Is this article aimed at someone who has not been living like in our society for the
Yeah, all Frank Bruni's columns are like, all right, Frank, there's this guy who was recently brought out of a coma but lost a quarter of the function of his brain. We need you to tell him what's going on. And Frank's like, I can either give him the long version or say no more. And they're like, cool, Frank, don't ever fucking talk to me, the doc. I don't want to talk to you at all.
A guy wakes up from a coma, and they're like, they've taken Frank Bruni to be like, fill him in. And he goes, well, 10 years ago, we had Steve Jobs, Bob Hope, and Johnny Cash.
Oh, my God.
So he goes, Bloomberg is the real deal, supporting a carefully chosen array of causes genuinely dear to him. What, like the New York Philharmonic?
air.
And like,
Exactly. Yeah, it's all the fucking rich
real
bullshit he
what?
likes
Yeah.
anyway.
8 years ago.
Also, I'm sorry, Trump is very much the real deal in that he believes whatever he is saying at that particular moment.
Yeah.
Every charity that a guy like Michael Bloomberg supports is like, it's like the opera, or it's adding a new wing onto Yale. And then every once in a while they do something where it's like, oh, we're sponsoring 30 inner city kids in a way that would actually benefits like 0.01% of the children it could benefit if I was taxed at a more fair rate.
Yeah. 8 years ago, he signed the Giving Pledge, by which nearly 200 billionaires around the world have agreed to donate more than half of their wealth. In the last 2 years alone, he gave away more than $1 billion. Okay, I
Yeah,
want to
to
say
what?
something.
Out
I want-
of
yeah.
50.
Yeah, I want to say one thing about this idea. Like, we hear this with Bill Gates a lot. Like, he's pledged to give away all his money. Jeff Bezos just did this,
Yeah.
where it's just like he's going to give away all his money when he dies. First, or like a portion of it. First of all, giving away $1 billion when you have 50 of it means nothing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
bullshit.
Chump change.
And again, Amber asked the right question: who's he giving it to? The answer is, in almost every instance, they're giving it to a foundation
His own
in their
foundation.
name.
Something
Yeah.
saying
Yeah,
some
they're
fucking-
giving it to a foundation that they set up to appropriate the wealth that they're giving.
And that most of the work and energy within that foundation goes to running and maintaining the foundation.
Exactly.
So, like, yeah. And this is the other thing that they're not addressing, and that Frank Bruni's not addressing in this article, is like the reason Bloomberg didn't join the 2016 race is because he wasn't meaningfully different from Clinton, and he didn't want to divide the vote that would have gone to Clinton
Yeah.
and risk having Trump win. But Trump won anyway. But still, now it's like, why would someone who's essentially
Right.
no different from Hillary Clinton win?
But what about this other
But what
dry
about
nerd
this
that no one
It's like
likes?
he might as well say, "What about Hillary Clinton to beat Trump in 2020?" You
Yep,
know,
exactly.
like that's literally how trapped in the.
Well, he has one advantage over Hillary Clinton, and that is his passionate defense of Charlie Rose.
Which no one asked him about,
Yeah.
but he got right into.
That's my favorite thing he's done as part of this PR blitz. It's just
Say,
like,
you know what? He sticks up for his friend.
yeah, it just no one asked him about it. And he's like, you know, Me Too has gone too far. Honestly, like my friend Charlie, we didn't think he did anything wrong. What's up?
Is Charlie Rose still going to start his talk show where he only interviews men who have been Me Too'd? Because
Oh
that
my
is-
God,
I
that was a
think that
real
was
thing.
a trial balloon. I don't know if that's
well,
actually
I'm
happening.
for it. I'm trying to float that balloon back up into the air because I think that's the best thing for everyone. Because
saying
then
like a
people say,
YouTube?
oh, is Louis going to come back and be like, you could be like, yes, he's going to be on Charlie Rose's Me Too Exile talk show next week. You know, like it would just be the perfect launching pad.
Well, network
Also, like,
executives.
who would go on that?
everyone.
Well,
None of them would agree. Anyone who ever wanted to come back would be like, "No, I'm not going
No,
on
you would
that."
have to. It would be mandated. That's part of your rehabilitation.
it's like, okay.
The first thing is you have to go on the show.
Char-
It's
well,
called-
Creative sentencing.
I'm currently pitching to networks my Me Too Takashi's Castle idea, where whoever completes the obstacle course gets to return to entertainment.
American Me Too warrior.
Me Too
Oh
Double
my
Dare.
God. That's.
Oh, wait,
someone's
didn't
I better
the Double Dare
copyright that
host
shit. I'm
actually
gonna do
get-
this. I don't morally agree with the idea, but it's just like
Ideas
That's
shared
money, dude.
Ideas shared on a podcast are intellectual property and cannot be stolen.
Ah, shit. Good call, Will.
We covered our ass with that one.
Oh, thank you.
So Bertie actually he gets into some criticism of Bloomberg here. He goes, he has gaping blind spots, which were described in a recent story about his potential candidacy by my Times colleagues Alexander Burns and Sidney Ember. I was floored that he digressed in an interview with Burns to wonder about the accusations against Charlie Rose.
It's like I was floored that he was a 76-year-old man.
Yeah.
Though Bloomberg, during his mayoralty, famously rode the subways, he never managed to seem of the subways.